From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those Grid Life events where you used to see the in-car video and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
You know, we have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe two.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does the
have,
Sentinel system do?
we could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
Dominating with Dawson.
And we've never done this before, have we?
I don't think so.
I can't believe we've never done this. It's such a big part of track life.
Yeah. Well,
Unfortunately.
we're gonna do it now. Ben Dawson, I know something you don't want to hear.
Well, I mean, I'm down for anything, so you just got to be a real big surprise. What do you got?
It's the sound that goes.
What?
Crunch and crash?
Yeah, slide.
Is that what that was?
Well, you know, my throat's a little sore from the cold we had last week. So,
Gotcha.
Ben Dawson, we have never talked about handling a racing incident afterwards. We've talked about how to avoid them. We've talked about what not to do. We've talked about what to do, but we never, you know, these things happen.
They do, and it's not like and I mean, in my mind, we're probably talking about incidents where you've had contact or maybe you've gone off the track and hit somebody else. But if 2 cars are involved in an incident, a lot of times you're not just going to go back to your trailer and nobody's going to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like somebody's usually mad that it happened and somebody feels wronged a lot of the time. It's really happens where both people walk away from it going, dang, that was weird, and I had nothing else to say about it, right?
Yeah. I remember when Miss Vicky had to walk up to the bridge that she just hit and apologize to it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I hope it was nice. I hope it was gracious in return. It's crazy. There is a certain amount of etiquette I think is generally agreed upon as far as how you need to handle it after a crash. And I'm wondering if we all kind of have the same just general expectation. Vicky, what do you think is expected of you after the 2 cars have hit each other?
Definitely seek out the car that you hit. And discuss.
Even if you weren't at fault?
Well,
if you weren't at fault, you might be even faster trying to seek out that other driver. And to be clear, you want to find where that car is, but you're looking for the person who's in that car. And in endurance racing, it could be 5 or 6 people are standing around that pit, and none of them were that driver. But you want to find out, hey, who are they and where are they? Because sometimes it's
Right.
like it's time to talk about it right now. And then,
Well,
depending
and
on the series, I mean, some series even have kind of a time frame where it's like, hey, if you want to complain about something, it's got to be within blah 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 blah. So sometimes time is critical too if you're trying to do it within the
yeah,
official rules and the official mediation process that the series has or whatever.
but I
But
would
yeah, you said
certainly,
that's the thing. That's the thing I would have said too. Is everybody thinks you go find the person, and you face to face deal with it. It's kind of I
right.
think that's everybody's basic expectation. Is like whatever happened, y'all are gonna have to talk about it. So go talk about it, especially if you feel like it's your fault. Definitely seek that person out and try to do your best to at least acknowledge it and talk to them about it. That's kind of what I would think. Have you heard that a lot too, Bill? Is that what everybody kind of says up there?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got some
Ideally, the
additions, but
first thing is to just go and just make sure everybody's okay. Because the
Exactly.
first
And
thing you don't want to do is go in there with both guns blazing on your hips, ready to throw
yeah.
down. Right?
and it and
You don't
right.
want to do that.
So
Okay.
it's crazy that we all kind of have this basic understanding of what we're supposed to do, right? Just
Right.
like
But
just like
people
toddlers know
don't.
they're just like
Sometimes
toddlers
they
know they're
just
not supposed to
don't.
scream. So if the answer in the reality actually was everything's civil, hey, sorry that happened. Hey, no big deal. I'll be back after I rebuild this thing. Hey, okay, good luck. Let me know if you need me to come rent your garage. If they all went like that, we wouldn't even need to have this conversation about it. But even like in the lead up to talking about this, all three of us were like, "Yeah, I got stories. I got stories." Y'all haven't been doing this that long. I mean, I got stories like I got stories like where I had a terrible day. My dog bit my mom at the cart track because we didn't know he had problems. He was young, and we just like, "Oh, this dog is just." And so I was having the worst day of my life, and I go out there to race. I'm racing the feature race, and I go to pass somebody. I can't remember. I felt like they were driving me dirty. I just hit the crap out of them, and then after the race, I was like, these people are. I knew I was going to get because I mean I just wail on this other driver like I was just mad. I had a choice. I chose violence. I don't know why, but it was we hit each other out there all the time. That was the contact was the norm, but I ran this guy pretty hard. And afterwards they came up. They were all hot. It was pretty much me by myself. I mean, my family had already left the track this time, and so it was just me out there, me and my truck and my go kart, pretty much. I'm like, this guy's whole family's gonna come over here, and sure enough, they all come trouncing over there. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure like 8 people aren't going to beat the crap out of one guy by himself. But I was like, I'm going to have to deal with this. And they, hey, why'd you? Oh, they were all mad. They were all torqued up. And everybody was bowed up, like physically angry, right in my face. And I just say, hey, I'm having a terrible day, and I shouldn't run you like that. I'm sorry, man. That just diffused it. They're like, all right, like at least if you can say that, they're like, that's a start. Like,
Right.
it is a start. Please step back a little bit because I apologize. I was like, I shouldn't have done you like that out there. I was having a crappy day, and I shouldn't have let that affect the way I was driving. I sure shouldn't have hurt your chances and risk hurting you. I'm really sorry about that. And like I say, kart racing was a lot more physically violent. So I don't want to make it seem like I just did a standout act of violence. We were all running the crap out of each other all the time, but I definitely kind of hit that guy harder than I needed to. So that was kind of how it got started for me. And one of the first times I realized, like, well, if it happens, you're gonna have to deal with it. So I've never done anybody like that again. I don't think, but it was a big learning experience for me. What about you, Bill? You got one?
well, I mean, I can go back to the original one that happened on our team, which I wasn't even the driver, so I'm kind of out of place on this. But
Oh yeah, yeah. Let
so
me hit it.
so we were driving the Mustang at New Hampshire, and we were getting ready for a pit, and it seems to be a theme today. On the in lap, uh, the track itself kind of has several squeezes. It's kind of like an accordion,
Yeah.
and Jennifer got clipped by the passing car on the front, and that knocked her into a car that was on the other side, and it was kind of like a ping pong match.
Oh man, it's
So,
miserable.
so by the time it happened, our first priority was make sure Jennifer was okay, which she was. Car, not so much. But then one of the other cars, I went to go walk over there and talk to him. And this was end of the day on Sunday. So I go over there
Oh
and I
man.
go to talk to the car, and the driver of the car is just screaming at two of his teammates who are outside the car. So I politely decide this is not the time to,
Right. Yeah.
to
Fair
go
enough.
talk to them because this is not going to be a productive conversation.
They're pretty dysregulated, right?
Yeah, they were less than happy. And I don't know if this was the car that clipped or the car that got bumped into. Don't know. Don't remember. This was like 7 or 8 years ago. And turned out that was our second or third race ever. So after that, we never found that car. So we never got to go apologize or say we're sorry or make sure they were okay. They went back on the track. So I'm guessing they were okay. Car was.
Right.
I think one of the cars was competing for their class win and the other car might have been as well. So it was kind of, we definitely weren't. But, these things happen. And, I'd really like to go up and, make sure everybody was okay, but it was not the appropriate time. So that was one of them. So Miss Vicky.
What's that?
You got a confrontation story you can tell?
I've never had a confrontation.
No, she likes walls.
No, I haven't hit anybody else. So that I can't say that
contact's been
happened.
concrete.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, and I'll sub in and tell you one that we had. This region of Champ Car, it kind of comes and goes, but in general, it's pretty aggressive down here. And people don't seem to be worried or that concerned with incidental contact. But, all of us came out of Lemons, and that was kind of where we built our expectations around messing up in contact. And somebody hit our E30 one time. And I was in the car when it got hit, but I found out which car hit us from the driver. And I went over there, and this is a team that's invited me to race with them several times. I've driven this car that hit us, but it looks like a sack of walnuts. It's just me on it looks like a sack of walnuts. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but I know him well enough to go over there and go, "Hey, man, y'all just hit us." Like, I say that like, what happened? Like, I had to go find him because he didn't care that it happened. So, I mean, different series have kind of different levels of expectation, but I didn't expect to get hit. And I expected to go talk to at least the owner of the car that hit me and go, "Hey, what the hell, man?" And he's just like, "Oh, what? Oh yeah, we had stuff." I was like, "What? No!" You don't just grin at me and say, "Oh yeah, we hit stuff." So sometimes you have the conversation and you walk away feeling like, "Well, damn, that wasn't worth shit," But you have to have the conversations, or at least I think you have to have the conversations because, I mean, part of it is you're participating in the culture at the track and you're participating in the culture of the group that you're with, and so. If you stand out or you're terrible, they just won't. Nobody wants you to come back, and you eventually get yourself kicked out if you're behaving poorly enough, right? So you don't ever want to be on that end of things. But you gotta bring it up when stuff happens. I'll tell you, I think the most recent contact I had where I had to deal with this was when the brakes failed on our M3 at CMP on that big long straightaway after the King. And I just drove center punch to the driver's side door on this beautiful Boxster race car in the Lucky Dog race. Just didn't have enough brakes to slow down. And he was also going on the inside where I was trying to go. So he was used to my spare lane where I slowed down before. So anyway, I after it happened, and everybody came off the track at the end of the day. Fortunately, our car had zero damage from that pretty hard impact. Like, not at all. Nothing towed out, nothing broken, not even a mar on the paint somehow. I think we just did it all with the splitter, I guess. Even the splitter was fine. But this poor guy's Porsche was in rough shape. So I just grabbed a beer out of the cooler, walked all the way across the pack to where his car was, and he was. I said, "Hey," I was in the BMW that ran into you. I said, I just explained the mechanical failure that we had, explained what had happened, and he was really sad. He was thoroughly sad because he had a pretty broken car. I mean, that car had body damage on the front, the door was all gone, the back. I mean, I think a Porsche Boxster, that's pretty much all just one big piece with a door in it. So he was facing a fair amount of repair, or I don't know what, but his car was way more messed up than ours was. And all I could really do was go over there and talk to him, say what had happened, and at least say, "Hey, I wasn't trying anything out of place, or I wasn't trying to get cute with my driving or trying to be too aggressive. Just had a mechanical failure." So I wanted to at least not necessarily, what's the word, prove my innocence, but I just wanted to let him know, "Hey, this happened. Really sorry that it happened. Wasn't trying to be a dick about on track." And I just kind of stuck the beer in his hand, and he was sad, but he took the beer, and he didn't seem too mad about it. And I learned that approach. I'll tell you, this may be the key takeaway of taking a cold beverage of your choice to the person, but that seems to always be a good move. Is if you can at least press a cold beverage into the person's hand, that seems to at least take the temperature down a little bit. And where I learned that trick from was my dad. My dad and his buddies used to race circle track on pavement. I don't think my dad was driving, but he was one of the people that built the car. And it was like a crew of guys that would go out to the circle track, and they all worked in DC at the Pentagon. And the track was out in Beltsville, Maryland. So they were always having to try to leave DC on Friday or Saturday in rush hour. They'd stop to get gas, and they had their trailer, big old long trailer with a race car hanging out, all these kind of big burly dudes. And this little guy also trying to escape the city. Like, he's trying to get out of the gas station. I guess it's kind of tight. And he ended up like hitting the race car with his street car. Because I guess the race car was kind of hanging off the back of the trailer with his old kind of style trailers. And this poor guy, this little nerdy looking guy, hits there, just like barely taps the race car. He stops and he gets out and he's running up to like freak out and apologize. And he's so worried. My dad said he just walked around, grabbed the beer out of the cooler, put it in this poor worried guy's hand, and just said, "Hey, have a great weekend." And the guy just turned around, got back in his car, and drove away. So truly, cold beverage can work in either direction to kind of soothe the feelings. So let me recommend that, because I've had plenty of bad times at the track, but you can definitely at least get some goodwill with a beverage.
So you're saying that I shouldn't get out of my car, take my helmet off, stand in the corner, and whack the hell out of the cars driving by with my helmet?
Only if you're like somebody like Will Power or somebody, which is funny. It's funny that IndyCar driver Will Power always gets out of the car, freaks out, wants to stomp around. He did that just this past week, and then came out there. I saw a statement where he's like, "Hey, I watched the replay and I realized that I was the one who made the move that put us in trouble, not the guy I was screaming at." So he called the person and apologized, like they made up, which I think is pretty another way to deal with the confrontations, even if it's after the fact, over the phone or something like that. And I've had that happen too. I don't know if we've talked about it on this thing, but I had a pretty nasty confrontation at the track with this driver. He kept trying to block me and force me off the track, which I don't think is cool. What do you guys think? You guys want to get blocked or have somebody try to drive you off the track when you're going really fast?
It's not what I'm looking for.
No, not ideal.
In this instance, their car was placed higher than us because we'd been off the track, but I was going faster than they were, and I was still out there racing. I don't want to hang around with this guy. I don't know if he didn't know I wasn't for position or whatever. I mean, this guy was real murdery. And then he comes up to me. We're in the paddock trying to fix something on the car. I didn't even realize who he was, and he started talking to me like, "Hey, it was a lot of fun out there." And I was like, "Yeah, what car were you driving?" And he told me. I was like, "You tried to kill me a bunch of times out there." I mean, that was the confrontation, but he wanted to come up and talk about how cool it was and how much fun he was having. I was like, "Yeah, a bunch of times you tried to kill me." And finally, I just put it. The way it went is I wasn't taking any chances. I had to back out of a bunch of attempted passes, and finally, I'm like, I finally just kind of forced a pass using a slow car as a pick, and I knew I was going to put him far enough back. This car had a ton of motor on me, so I had to put him far enough back where he couldn't get back to me. But standing there talking to this guy in the pit, it was so weird that he came over thinking it was such a positive experience. And I was like, I have never been more angry coming off the track after this guy. I was like, I got kids, man. Like, why are you trying to why would you drive like this? Like, you're driving like you want me to die. He's like, what? He's like, oh, that car's got real bad torque steer. I was like, if you can't handle the car you're racing, you can't put it where it needs to be without, being a risk. Don't be out there. But the after the fact part comes in. I didn't realize this is the same guy I had raced his E46 at VIR for the 24. I didn't even realize it was the same guy because this guy is completely unmemorable, like just standard. White people all look the same to me because I'm a white dude, but this guy was the most run-of-the-mill looking white dude you can imagine. And so as I'm standing there talking to him, just kind of looking at him at the track, I didn't even realize, like, oh, I've raced this guy's car before. And so he called me to ask me about something else. And I realized as I'm talking to him, I'm like, wait a minute, are you the blah, blah, blah car guy from CMP? He's like, yeah. He said, I knew you didn't recognize when we were talking, but he called me to ask me something about another race coming up or something like that, totally unrelated to the CMP thing. But I was like, no, let's talk about that again. I said, because I sent him a video of it. I said, I don't know if you've seen this video from inside our car, but I don't know what you were doing. And he watched the video and we texted back and forth, and he just kept kind of complaining that the car was more than he could handle, I guess, or something like that. He just kept blaming skill issues on it. So it was weird. That one wasn't a satisfying post race or even post race confrontation for me, just because I felt bad because this guy's still out there racing and still out there being as dumb as he was. I mean, you got to be pretty oblivious to reality to go, no, that was great. We were having a great time out there. Like, yeah, that dude is still out there. I even tried to warn, I even sent a video of it to Kathy and tried to say, hey, y'all might want to do something about this guy. I didn't expect to hear anything back, but I didn't. But I just wanted to at least put it out there. I wasn't ever going to publicly call this person out, but I definitely sent Kathy a video of it, and he's still out there. So good luck, everybody in the Southeastern. Lucky dog. If you're worried about it, hit me on a private message. I'll tell you what car to watch out for.
I think I know. I've Race to a Kathy down there already.
But yeah, so even though it's not always a satisfying result, you gotta have it. I got one more anecdote. Just if do we have time? And
It's called Dominating with who?
Well, I would change it to another D name, but I'm also not going to name any of the people in this story. But I will say this most recent time I raced with AER, not the team I was racing with, but a very close team to mine. We had an incident where that team's driver lost control of the vehicle coming down through Hogpen and started spinning. And another car decided, instead of checking up to let the spin happen and let this person's vehicle clear the course, this other driver just decided, I'm going to keep my foot in it and just kind of try to predict which way this car's going to go. And the spinning car,
Old Trickle
just decided he was going to NASCAR his way through the cloud of dust or whatever. I mean, he was seeing this car spin, just going. Okay, I'm gonna punch it through here. I'm probably be fine. Or you could check up and not wreck your car. But anyway, as it happened, the other driver, the driver who's close to me, this person's car hooked and kind of came back across the track where this guy thought it was not going to be, and he kind of hit this person's car. So anyway, it was bad. It was scary for my friend who got hit. That person had their confidence shaken some. The other driver, who was in a different class in a competitive situation, it felt like they could just kind of fly through there and then got hit, kind of face the consequences of their own actions. In my opinion, that person was really hot and wanted to had talked to our driver and my friend. I keep saying our driver. This is kind of a sister team to us, but even that driver went down to try to find the person, and they weren't there. So they made the effort. They made the right effort to try to go do the polite thing and be around. And then, so following that, they start trying to yank the car straight, doing all that sort of stuff. And they made another attempt or two to go try to find this driver. But at this point, once you've tried a few times, I think you've done what you got to do. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I'm not start a letter writing campaign and try to go to somebody's house to resolve this. I'll make a couple of cracks at it, and if I can't find them, they can come find me. We'll figure it out at that point. But I felt like the driver who I'm buddies with had done due diligence on trying to go find this driver and make it right. This person had spoken with their team, done everything, offered to go find spare parts, offered to make it right in any way that they could, which I think is good. Even if you're not standing there talking to the actual driver, offer to help the team.
Right.
You guys would do that too, right? Like, I mean, you just try to do whatever I can to make this right. Sorry it happened, even though it wasn't this driver's fault. This driver was just spinning and got hit by a car who couldn't wait. You know what I mean? That's the situation. But this one took a bizarre turn because apparently somebody who was close to our driver and also knew that other team came down and said, I forgot what the guy's name is. Let's just say Tim. I'm sure the person's name wasn't Tim. But it's like it was telling my buddy, okay, Tim's ready. It was like, okay, I've talked to him. Tim's ready to talk. Listen, all you got to do is just go down there, listen to what Tim has to say. He's going to suggest that you get some instruction. He's going to suggest some skid pad time and blah, blah, blah. All these prescriptions to I guess, fix or help the driver who he had just plowed into. Instead of being patient enough to wait, he just drove right through our car. And you understand what I'm saying? Like, this person was kind of tight with both of us, was like, hey, here's what's got to do to make it right. You like, after all the things this person had already done to try to make it right, all these other attempts, now you still got to go down here and face Tim, who's pissed. Tim is pissed and he wants to talk. And I shut it down. I was like, So in this case, not like I'm in charge of anything, but my friend was kind of in distress, has less experience with these things than I do, and I said, no. I said, Tim had his chance. We're definitely not going down there to get a lecture from Tim about what Tim thinks you need to do to be a better driver. Tim drove into you. I said, there's one thing to spin your car. Tim drove his car through you. So I said, we're not doing that. If Tim comes down here and wants to talk, fine. I said, you can send me down there. If you want to send me down there to talk to Tim, I'll go talk to Tim. I'll straighten Tim out. That didn't ever come up. But sometimes that's the way this kind of shit goes too. If somebody wants to get sanctimonious or cute with you or like start getting condescending, that shit can spin that way too. And I didn't like that. I was like, we're not talking to Tim. I said, if anybody's got to go talk to Tim, I'll go down there and talk to him. But I said, you certainly have done enough to try to make this right, to try to find that person. You've been down there a few times. And I said, we are certainly not going down there like a sacrificial lamb to let some dick lecture you about what he thinks you need to do to be better on track. So anyway, sometimes it spins like that, but you got to have the confrontations, right?
Yeah. I mean, Randy Pope's first rule is don't hit what you can see.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was that was one that was a weird one. I mean, I think a less experienced driver could have gotten roped in to get going down there and getting the tongue lashing from Tim and probably feeling like shit about it and probably doubting whether this was for them or not at all. And I'm like, we're not doing that. So
Yeah.
sometimes it goes like that too. You just got to keep your head. You got to keep your head on, and you got to kind of don't let emotions make you feel crazy. It's good. It's good to be self-actualized enough to know, like, hey, I'm too hot about this right now. I don't need to talk about it. None of us are really that way. None of us are that good. But it would be great if we were. If we could all kind of take a step back and be more rational in our approach. But it never really happens that way because we're out there at the racetrack doing stuff that's high stakes, high speed, and can kill you, right? I mean, there's a level of tension and stress that doesn't exist at your job or in your home when it comes to track stuff. So that can really amp things up, and it sucks that that's the reality, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the only thing that your friend did wrong was that they fired the blue shell when they were spinning because they didn't want to lose their place.
Exactly. That's like that time I was instructed at the BMW school and they were accusing me of somehow intimidating people from like half a straightaway behind. You're dominating from half a lap back, man. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just how I roll.
That's just what I do anywhere I go.
All right.
All the women in this county are pregnant now too, by the way.
I'm not sure if we answered this question.
I don't know. I think to me the answer I keep coming back to is you can't dodge it. If something did happen and something's going to happen, so all the people listening to this are going to have something they're going to have to deal with at the track at some point.
Yeah,
and it's where I think this conversation is important, where we can at least say that we all kind of agree. Here's a general expectation and precept for how it should go. Here are some ways it will go. You know what I mean? That's about the best I can do for y'all.
But at the same time, let's suppose we're on the receiving end of what we perceive as a bad outcome, and through, we believe, no fault of our own. There's something to be said for a little bit of grace.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for a little bit of grace.
And there's something to be said for, think about it. Did the person come to the racetrack saying, "Hey, I can't wait to go hit car number 616 in the Garage Heroes in Training.
I hate those guys. I'm going to ruin their day."
That's right. I can't wait till lap 85 when I get my chance and I just turn 6. Them bitches going down. I mean, that's not why somebody came. So, we're not making our mortgages, guys and girls. And nobody meant to do it.
Yeah. And overall, these are people you like. You hang out in the paddock with these people all the time, and you like them. Just one bad thing happens, and all of a sudden you're like,
even if you don't know them, you probably would like them.
Yeah, in general, you stood around these people at a drivers meeting, at least probably thought, they seem cool. But then again, when something happens, that kind of all goes out the window.
But there was some perspective that was given to me too.
Hit me.
And it was when you put your car on the track, you have to be willing to throw it away.
Yeah, be ready to lose it, which that's a great point.
Right.
That means you shouldn't freak out. If something happens to it, you should be calibrated enough where you're like, I don't need to lose it about this. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, and that was told to me after my incident.
I was told to you long ago.
What's that?
That was told to you long ago.
No,
she remembered it after her first incident.
No, it was after this incident, it was, that it kind of goes into, it's not if, but when, but, but it was just a nice reminder that the cars that we're building and the type of racing that we're doing, they are crap cans, really. They're going to take beating and tapping and stuff like that, but they are designed when you're racing that it might, to you or your fault or somebody else's fault, you have to be willing to let that car go.
All those cars racing at Monterey Classic, anybody who can afford to take a Porsche 935 and race it around Laguna Seca, that person is also, even at that scale, they're like, I'm taking this thing to the track, but it might not come home.
Right. And if you can't afford to do it, then you're stupid.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, but it depends on the scale of money. But even those people who can take Formula One cars to do exhibition vintage racing, they can afford to walk away without that car too.
It's just zeros.
Yep, just the number of zeros. But yeah, so it is good to kind of help recalibrate your expectations and your understanding of what you're doing out there. Sometimes like, hey, I could go home with an empty trailer, and that's also not the end of the world. Yeah, so that's a great
Right.
point.
Yeah. All right. So what did we miss? Let us know. GarageHeroesInTraining@gmail.com.
Oh, wait. So, Vicky, let me make sure I understand. So, you're saying that if something bad happens and you're standing there with a couple of cars that are written off, the main thing to tell the other driver when they come up to talk to you about it is, well, don't come to the track with anything. You can't just set on fire and leave, right?
No, I would
That's
never say that to anybody else.
You
That
tell
that
it,
might be
that's-
plan B.
Never.
you tell that angry driver, well, hey, you shouldn't have brought something you weren't prepared to lose. See you later.
Right.
Got it.
Nope.
That's what we
You
do. Yep, there we go.
never introduce that part to it. Never go up and tap them on the shoulders and sorry, bud, but it is what it is.
Yeah, maybe you should have left the car
never
at the
do
house.
that.
Okay. So I got it. That's how I'm gonna do the next one. I got it.
Yeah.
There we go. That's just like when somebody's really angry or whatever. I like to aggressively tell them to calm down. I'm like, calm down.
That would be
That
the
always
wrong
works.
way of doing something.
Yeah, calm down.
The best part about that is I can edit that so it sounds like that's what she said. It'll be great.
Do
there we
that.
Yeah, she walks up to him and says, "Don't come to the track and don't expect your car to go away. And where's my beer?" Yep.
Yeah.
Give me a beer.
No, I legit on the last incident and it wasn't ours. We lost 3 cars, probably in the morning of the first day.
Oh yeah, you're talking about that most recent race stuff. We as the group,
but
who were
just
at the
going
track
around and just checking on everybody, and people kind of appreciate the fact that are you
had a flip,
just
all that kind of
simply
stuff, right?
are you okay?
Yep.
And a couple words of wisdom, is helpful, even if they're just somebody else that you weren't involved in it, but they're a little shocked.
Yeah, it means a lot to have somebody come up and just say, "How are you yourself doing?" At least to me,
Right.
if something's happened. I like to do that. I like to check on people like, "Hey, not worried about the car. How are you doing?" You talk to your family. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Just to be clear, you're using the Royal We lost 3 cars, not the personal we, because
Yes, we the Garage Heroes didn't lose 3 cars. We the
No.
group of people who were at the track. I mean, y'all had a car flip and some kind of crazy stuff early in that race, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Which is pretty nutty for that group.
yeah.
Lemons is not usually flipping cars.
Especially
Yeah.
when you're by yourself and nobody's
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah, I know
Well,
mine
it happens.
when I had that incident, I just was out for a little while, and then I just went
Yeah.
into the trailer and I just kind of lay down and took a nap. I really just didn't want to talk to anybody.
That's
I
okay.
really didn't. I just needed
That's
a
fine.
few. I needed some time. I was
Yeah, that's
sad.
That's totally okay. Yeah, that sounds very natural and okay to me.
Yeah. Like, I just want to go and rest a little bit, and I'll just deal with this later.
That's cool. Yeah, that's fine.
So,
Especially since there was no other driver to confront, right? That was
Right.
definitely- It was perfect. That's exactly what you got to do. You can confront yourself later.
yeah.
just walk up to the bridge and go, "What were you thinking?"
Right. Yep.
All right, beaten to the
I'd
down.
love to hear. Yeah, if we have anybody listening who's got interesting anecdotes to tell us, let me hear them. I'm sure I'm not the only one with weird stuff that's happening at the track.
Will do. GarageHeroesInTraining@gmail.com.
Yep. Ben Dawson at hobbitfeet.net.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ben Dawson's hobbitfeet@gmail.com.
Hobbit feet.
But you really do have that address, don't you?
I do.
Damn it.
But I sign up for all my my YouTube channels. Yeah, YouTube. That's what I use it for. YouTube.
I'm probably subscribed to a million weird YouTube channels with that. Thank you, buddy.
No worries. Anytime. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.